There are camps of belief that chiropractic is dangerous. You can have a tremendous level of dysfunction and have no pain or discomfort at all. Bones will degrade and decay, not because of their age. This is part of why it's so important to educate people on what it means to be healthy, what it means to heal. If you're eating a standard American diet and living a standard American lifestyle, then you are creating standard American diseases. Your muscles of your hip flexors get shorter and tighter the more you train your body to sit for hours and hours and hours a day. And we've been trained to sit in a desk or a chair since we start kindergarten. Every practitioner that you meet is not going to be a good fit for you. I had a rough and tumble lifestyle. I played sports. I fell out of trees. I fell off bicycles. I was in car accidents before I was 28. Even if it's scary, do it scared. Take supplements. Be in nature. The magic you're not seeing is in the work you're not doing.
Dr. Aletha, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
For folks that haven't met you yet, who are you and what do you do?
My name is Dr. Aletha Chapoliere, and I am a BGI chiropractor in Atlanta, Georgia.
And what would you say is the main problem that you solve?
As a chiropractor, my main focus is finding interference to the function of the nervous system and helping to reduce or remove that interference so that the body functions in a more optimal way. Most people moving through the world today have some level of discomfort or dysfunction. They can say, I am not moving well or feeling well, or this area of my life or my body is not functioning as well as it should. My job is to look at the body and its structure, find where the imbalances are or the distortions in the body, mind, energy field. And I am helping to retrain or release those patterns of tension that are inappropriate.
I remember asking you once, let's say someone in their 40s, 50s, 60s. When they come through the door, what's that number one thing they're looking for? You said to me, they're looking for vitality. What is vitality to that midlifer?
Vitality to me is an optimal expression of life and being able to do the things that you want to do to experience life in a fulfilling way, whether that is walking to your mailbox, getting in the floor and playing with your kids, riding a horse, whatever that experience might be equated to that particular individual. If they're not able to do those things or they have to modify significantly their experience of those things because it's not enjoyable in the state that they're in, then vitality would be that gift of being able to experience that in an optimal way or the best way possible.
That's what it comes down to.
Right. So at the end of the conversation, really what people are asking for is an improved or an elevated quality of life.
Why do you think we settle for less?
I think there becomes a level of familiarity with discomfort or dysfunction. There becomes a familiarity. And it seems to be normalized. We look at people and assume that at a certain age, I would say the majority of society assumes that when you reach a certain age, you should start to look, act, and feel a certain way. And oftentimes you hear the word old thrown around with that.
I can't bend anymore. I'm getting old. Because I actually hear it from 30-year-olds.
Yeah.
Right? Like we start to program ourselves that we're getting old. This is because of age. That's because of age, whether it is or not.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that belief system. There are many things that we have as core beliefs that are simply not true. And I think it's important that we begin to train ourselves out of that. And I have seen X-rays, diagnostic imaging. Those are a great way to determine the length of time that an injury occurred to a spine because you can see a certain level of degeneration. Bones will degrade and decay, not because of their age. Like age doesn't have anything to do with the level of decay. What if the joint is misaligned, then the wear and tear occurs. For a patient, for a person that has experienced any amount of chiropractic adjustment where they have helped to restore the alignment of the spinal joints, that process of decay from injury or misalignment is slowed down or completely stopped. So when people say that they are experiencing a decreased level of enjoyment or vitality in life simply because of age, that's a notion that we need to really let go of.
When it comes to chiropractic care, what's the biggest misconception?
One misconception is that chiropractic adjustments have to involve a level of intense force, that it always has to be uncomfortable, that there's always some sort of pretzel twisting, turning, popping, cracking.
Yeah, definitely one.
And there are camps of belief that chiropractic is dangerous, that chiropractic can cause damage to sensitive structures. And our research that has been done over many, many years has shown us time and time again that the risk of injury, stroke being the most severe, does not occur due to a chiropractic adjustment done appropriately in a healthy individual.
I'll tell you mine.
What is yours?
I always associated it with some sort of injury, like a car accident or fell and they're going to a chiropractor. So it was always, for me, associated with some traumatic thing.
I'm not hurting. I don't have back pain. I don't have neck pain. So why would I need to go to the chiropractor? Right?
It's because when so-and-so went, it was after their accident.
Can I drop some like really nerdy facts on you really quick?
Okay. Go ahead.
So our brain and nervous system processes about 3 trillion bits of information per second. And 25 of those bits of information we're consciously aware of. And of those, only 5 are associated with pain. So you can have a tremendous level of dysfunction and have no pain or discomfort at all. This is part of why it's so important to educate people on what it means to be healthy, what it means to heal, and how it's important, just like taking care of your car, to not wait until things are falling apart to do something about it.
Let's continue on that. Like talking to midlifers primarily here. You know, again, 40s, when they start giving you the black balloons, like the 40s, the 50s, 40, the 60s. What's happening with our bodies that almost makes chiropractic not just helpful, essential?
I think that our lifestyles, especially here in the United States, contribute to our level of dysfunction and dis-ease in our bodies. If you're eating a standard American diet and living a standard American lifestyle, then you are creating standard American diseases. So in order to change that, we've got to start with changing our mindset, changing how we eat food, changing how we view food, changing how we move, how we sleep, how we hydrate, and how we take care of this vessel that we live in. I hear people say this. I've got this thing to do. I'm gonna go move, or I'm gonna be really rough on my body with this football practice, soccer practice. So let me wait until after that, and then I'll come and get adjusted, or I'll take care of it after the fact. You would never see an elite driver or an elite athlete do that with their body or with their car. They would make sure that it was literally tuned up before they put it to the test. So we really have to work on changing our perspective and our mindset around what it means to be healthy and to age healthy. And what is midlife? Like, why do we have this muddled line in the sand that says, when I reach this point, I immediately start going downhill? And I don't feel like that should be the case. I don't feel like it is the case for people that really take care of themselves, body, mind, and spirit.
You start to think like that, and all of a sudden your output goes down as well. Your dreams go down. Everything starts to be diminished, starts to be less than, and they all tie together. To your point about the mind and the body, you made the statement that sitting is the new smoking. And I thought, oh my gosh, what an overstatement, right? But obviously my mindset's been changed quite a bit. Why don't you talk to me a little bit about that, let's say, sedentary lifestyle? What's happening and why what initially sounded like an overstatement is so very real?
So this is a fun, nerdy conversation too. From your personal experience, you can attest to the fact that you have been in my office. You have been face down on a table. And I have said,
you're superhuman. You're perfect. You don't have to worry about, another conversation. I'm sorry.
Different day. Where I've said, hey, what's going on here? Have you been sitting more? Have you been sitting more? I may have said, this is really stagnant. Your tissues feel sort of squished together. This is not moving well, right? So
all too often, yes.
The nerdy part of what I get to do is talk about there are these beautiful curves in the spine, and those are designed so that we can distribute the force of weight and gravity over a curved surface so that it is evenly distributing it over a series of vertebrae instead of just one or two. So when we are sitting, it straightens out the curve in the lower back. It flattens that curve out. And when it flattens that curve out, it puts pressure on the structures on the back part of the spine. And that's where the majority of the nerves are. And when you start to put pressure back there, then you start to experience pain and discomfort. Your muscles of your hip flexors get shorter and tighter the more you train your body to sit for hours and hours and hours a day. And we've been trained to sit in a desk or a chair since we start kindergarten. And we do that for sure for 12 years. And then if we move on from grade school and go to university, we're sitting for 4 more years. And then you go to grad school, and then you've got usually 4 more years. And then depending on which path you take, you may have an office job where you're doing tech or computer work and you're sitting for the rest of your life. Changing that into a path of standing, given the amount of time that one spends sitting, then there is a challenge going from decades of sitting to a standing or movement lifestyle, because we spent so much time training muscles to be shortened and tightened in certain postures, shortened and tightened in a seated posture, when the body is not designed to be in that posture. We are bipedal. We are upright walkers, runners. We should be able to squat and move and jump and run. And when you change the activities of the body so much that it's putting pressure on your nerve structures, that's the information superhighway. When you put pressure on those nerve structures, that can cause any number of problems.
So here's what's interesting about this. Most people would agree, yes, I'm too sedentary, but we tend to tie it back to weight and weight loss, and I'm gaining weight, or put it in different areas. What I'm learning more and more is there's a number of things that are happening. So we're gonna move from nerd to everyday real talk. That there are actually things that are happening to us. You just described how much sitting we're doing, that we experience day to day, and we don't naturally think, my gosh, it's all this sitting. We'll say it's because of something else. Well, tell us some things that folks might not realize ties back to what you're talking about.
That's an easy 3-word answer: stress, stress, and stress.
Okay. All right. So
We're going to break that down.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So mental and emotional stress, all the things that you worry about, that you think about, things that are going on in the world around you, pressures. It could be family life, work life, traffic, right? Chemical stress. So that's everything that we eat, that we drink, medications, toxins, what we're exposed to, and then the physical stress, which can be prolonged stationary posture, or it could be a repetitive habit, getting in and out of the vehicle the same way. Let's say you're a knob turner or a button pusher. A phone, how many times have I might have asked you or any number of people in my office that come in and complain of elbow or shoulder pain. Like, how long are you holding your phone a day? Oh, well, I'm a real estate agent. I work on my phone all day long. This is my lifeline. I work on my phone all day long. So little things like that, like physical stressors. There are things like that that we don't categorize as detrimental, that in large quantity, when we don't pay attention to those things, can be detrimental. And you can break every single one of those little insults down into one of three categories.
So let's take that now and let's just take one of them, whether it's I'm sitting too much or I'm out of alignment, so I'm walking a certain way, or I'm holding the phone, or I'm keeping too much tension in my neck. Pick one of them. That cascade
Right.
that you sometimes talk about, right, is, I've got this thing in my right shoulder that is, I think is just right shoulder, but then oh man, this thing in my left knee, or did I mention the thing in my right ankle, or, however it might play out, it's all interconnected.
So just to stay up to par with the most modern experience of this is what we call text neck or tech neck. And there are a cascade of things that occur from that posture. It causes the muscles in the front to be shortened and tightened. It causes the muscles in the back to be overworked and tight. So then they get bigger because they are working harder trying to pull the head up, because the eyes and the brain wants the eyes to be level with the horizon. So when we're in this posture of looking down, we are putting an unnecessary level of tension, because now that spinal cord is stretched out. And because most of these teenagers, adults as well, are often sitting, now you're putting a tension or a stress on the spinal cord itself. So then you've got all of these processes in the body that are really intelligent saying, hey, we don't like how this feels. We're not designed to be like this for this amount of time and every day. And your body is silently working to correct those things, which is not getting any reprieve from. So after a certain point, now the nervous system is going to say, hey, other muscles, hey, other ligaments and tendons, can you help us out here? So then you start to get tension and distortion in other structures. So in consideration of the fact that everything in this entire vessel is connected from head to toe, everything is connected, you can have a postural distortion in your head that is literally affecting your ankles or vice versa.
One of the things that I know I had to get used to is coming in with, let's say, my left ankle is hurting, and then being told, well, it's because of what you're doing with your neck. You're like, are you even listening? Are you paying attention to what I'm saying? A lot of times we talk about the silent killers, there's, whether it's cholesterol and leading to heart attacks, or just different things that happen. In a lot of ways, this silent pain, the everyday things we're doing that are just harming ourselves. And then the other part of that cascade is over time and the damage we're doing.
Yeah, it adds, it's cumulative. Stress is cumulative. So the things that we do will help to decrease your vitality in the long run.
So let me tell you something I've observed in you and your practice, because we've talked about all the things that are going wrong and can go wrong and the ways we are hurting ourselves. And we've spoken about food, posture, and so on. What I see in your office is a level of trust between you and your patients. I see you listening to what they're saying, but also you're doing this thing where you're listening to their bodies and even asking questions like, have you ever had a experience like this? I forget what you asked me about my elbow. And I'm like, no. And then I was like, wait a second. Yeah, when I was 10 years old, or touching, or like you're saying, did you guys play golf? Did you do this? So there's
what did you do this weekend?
What I consider like just listening, and then trust, as I mentioned. But then there's a lot of your folks that tell you how much they love you. So there's a part of this that's obviously the physical and the things you have to do to physically help them. But you've incorporated a number of other aspects to this. I've touched on a few. There's others you have, like breathing, energy. Talk to me a little bit. How much of that is intentional and how much of that you just kind of happen to?
That's a great question. I don't know that anyone's ever asked me that. I have always had a particular level of sensitivity to people and their energy and emotions and the nonverbal stories that humans and their bodies, or animals as well, will tell if you just allow yourself to listen. And I say a lot, it's my job first and foremost to listen to what and I say the word system a lot because it's not just your body. It's your body, it's your energy, it's the collection of stories that you carry around with you, because we would like to put this in a category of woo-woo. But the fact that the body is a vibrational entity, there's vibration in everything. Energy is science. The bioenergy field of the body is a real thing. It's a real thing. We can measure it. We can influence it. We can do things that make it bigger, smaller, and even distort it. I think that's really important, first and foremost, to keep this in that perspective. That some people might say, that's woo-woo. That's some intuitive stuff. It's really not. It is science. And that is the most fun part of what I get to do every day. Because when I am listening to what the body is saying, and I do often use my hands in that respect, but sometimes I'm just allowing the space for that to be expressed. And I don't know how I interpret that based on how other people might interpret it. But many times I have had someone walk in the office and said, when did you get hit in the left side of your face that would have been, an angle like this? Or when did you have the lateral whiplash? Or my favorite is, do you box? It's just such a random, not many people walk in my office and say, oh yeah, I've been a boxer for this many years. So just like we talked about with stress being cumulative, the stories accumulate in your energy field. And if they have not yet been processed, then there is a distortional pattern in your energy field that may or may not be stored within the tissues. So scientifically, that can be felt. Intuitively, that can be experienced. And then I just have to use the tools that I've been given through chiropractic, maybe energy balancing. I just use those tools to find the invitation of where I can help instead of going to look for something. But learning to trust myself and my experience of that, which I have been doing. I've been working with bodies for over 25 years now. I've been a chiropractor for over 16 years. Learning to trust that the skills and the knowledge that I have been given to put to use helps me to hold a space of being trustworthy, to help people and meet them where they are, to facilitate healing on their part. And I love that you've noticed that people tell me, like, I don't know if other practitioners experience this, but I experience it a lot. And it makes me just beam with joy. I have people that...
What makes you beam?
Having patients that come in And they'll say, as they're leaving, they'll say, I love you, Dr. A. I love you, Dr. A. Have a great weekend. Like, there is no better feeling than that, to help someone. I'd never asked for that, but I really strive to hold a safe space for people to come in and be vulnerable and reach out for a tool for healing. I think that is one of the greatest gifts that I can be given, whether it's from a mom or a child or.
It's interesting you just mentioned those two, because as you're talking, here's one of the things that I thought about is that typically the part of the body that we accept is the chemical, and the chemical changes. So chemicals can come in and chemicals can help to change. And, that's accepted as science, as you said, right? We all know the body's not just about chemicals. There's
Right.
a lot more going on. There's that we can't fully explain, but it's happening. The second part is we talk about this doctor has a good bedside manner and this one does not. We say that all the time. And sometimes I'm wondering, what are we actually saying when we say that? And part of what I think we're saying is, if you harken back to your original caregiver, who is your mother, when you were a child, that's the representation we have of it. And I can even think of my own experience where, you're crying and something's wrong, and your mother comes and she puts some ointment on it, or she'd go for some oil and put it on you. And the trust. So we talked about trust and love. And then there's chemicals, there's energy, there's the things that need to be done. And so she might have an ointment or something the doctor gave her, but then there's this love part that she brought in, right? There's this trust part, and they all came together. And you got up and walked away from things. And sometimes I think back like, wait, what? But how did we recover from that? How did that culminate? In some ways, that's sort of what you're talking about now is, yes, there are some scientific, hard science things that are factored into the treatment process and the healing process. But then the love part, the trust part,
I think that's
actually
the
factors
nurture.
in too. And someone might go, but think about it. If I don't trust you, even to go do what you're telling me to do, it factors in. When I look at you, your practice, what you're building, what you continue to build on, there's a combination there that I think makes a difference. You can't you've put your finger on some of it maybe not, but when it comes together, it's as solid as anything else.
I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit. I'm going to ask you a question.
Wait a second, that's my job.
I know.
Okay, let me hear the question.
But I want you to be really honest, okay? When you walked into my office to see me as a practitioner for the very first time, initially, from the moment that you met me and you sat down in front of me and we went through the process of an exam and I did the first adjustment, did you, from the very first moment, did you trust me initially? There's no wrong answer.
Right. There's some trust to even walk through the door.
I feel like you trusted your referral sources.
Definitely.
For sure, like hands down.
But also trusted in what I'd already seen work for folks in my family, let's say in front, right? That I wasn't able to explain, but it worked. And I'm an outcomes guy. I might not be able to explain everything in the middle, so my trust was in the outcome, that I've seen it work.
I think it's valid, but I think that you're an upfront skeptic until you get some results.
Right, for myself. That's not next level, yes.
And I think it's important. You're not the only person that comes in my office. You're not the only person that's come in like that, but you were open. You were open to the experience. And this is really important. Every practitioner that you meet is not going to be a good fit for you. They're not. I'm not everybody's cup of tea. And that's okay. I'm okay with that. I have patients that I've had for 16 years. I have had infants, that's toddlers that started with me at the age of 3 and 6 years old that are driving and their voice has changed and they make their own appointments now. And they've stayed with me for the duration of their life. I think it's important to understand that those relationships should be highlighted and held close, but also honor the fact that when something isn't up to par for you and your expectations, that you learn to not collectively say, this whole field is just a bad field, chiropractic, massage therapy, acupuncture, but say, you know what, maybe I should try a different practitioner.
In the same way you would do with, any other areas of
any
healthcare.
other profession.
All right. So let's go back to you, though.
You want to switch the hot seat.
You've been doing this 16 years, but you're not a 16-year-old. How'd you get here?
Okay. Originally, I wanted to be a veterinarian. So I originally went to college to be a veterinarian. So my dreams of finishing undergrad school and applying to vet school in first 2 quarters of, freshman year.
Knocked it off too.
Yeah, you kind of get knocked to the side like, hey, my advisor said, you might need to rethink your path here.
So what would you eventually was that first job?
So I started out working at vet clinics.
Okay.
So I stayed in that lane. I worked at vet clinics for years. I had some really unique experiences with veterinarians that turned me in the direction of working with human bodies.
Oh, okay.
As a result of a failed marriage. And that prompted me to remove myself from a detrimental situation, sort of in a survival mode. And I had experience with learning massage, like weekend classes, from a man that said, hey, I'm teaching massage to couples to help pay my way through chiropractic school. I'm going to take 6 couples. We're going to teach them massage. I got in that course and did 6 sessions. Loved it. That's where I learned I can feel things with my hands about the body. So that led to my decision of going to massage school as a means of I have to find myself and something to do. And the school that I really wanted to go to was a unique school in Virginia Beach, Virginia, called the Casey Riley School of Massotherapy. And that 7-month program, I learned so much about the human body and the energy, the bioenergy field, and all of these different alternative healing methods. And still only planned on doing massage therapy as a means to find my way back to veterinary practice. And I had a mentor that introduced me to a chiropractic veterinarian who was also performing traditional veterinary medicine, and he was an orthopedic surgeon. So he had 2 different practices that were completely separate. And this mentor was brilliant in saying, hey, I think you and this doc could really do some good work together. So in finishing up massage therapy, I learned canine rehab massage and worked as a vet tech, a surgical vet tech for this chiropractor. So I worked in 2 different offices, and I honed these skills of working with animals. And I got to watch him perform chiropractic every day on animals that come in not being able to tell you what's wrong, where it hurts, what makes it worse or better. They don't have a placebo effect, right? They don't have that. I went to the chiropractor and I feel euphoric or an expectation of feeling better coming and going from this particular office. I watched miraculous things occur with animals that came in that maybe had some level of paralysis and could not walk, have a few chiropractic adjustments, animal chiropractic at that, which just seemed a little out there for me. But then I also was putting to use the skills that I had learned in massage school and working on these animals as well. And I'm seeing all of this unfold in front of my eyes. And it was also the first time that I had experienced consistent, regular chiropractic care as a human from my mentors in chiropractic school. So I had this double whammy of I am now experiencing regular, consistent chiropractic care. I'm watching animals receive chiropractic care, and I'm seeing the benefits of both of those because I grew up I had a rough and tumble lifestyle. I played sports. I fell out of trees. I fell off bicycles. I was in 10 car accidents before I was 28.
Man, it's quite a bit.
It's a cumulative effect here. So putting all of this together, I had finished massage school. I was practicing massage, and I woke up one morning and it's like someone flipped a switch. And I knew the moment that I woke up, I'm supposed to be a chiropractor. And I held that. I held it in. And I went to work, and I'm in the surgery room with the veterinarian. I'm in the surgery room, so we're in the conventional vet office. He's mid-surgery. I don't remember what I was assisting with that day. And I looked over at him and I said, "Hey, Doc, I think I'm supposed to be a chiropractor." And he dropped his surgical instruments and he said, "Thank
Finally.
God, I thought you would never figure that out."
Right.
So within weeks, I applied to chiropractic school. I was accepted. And within the next month, I was moving from Virginia Beach back to Georgia because that's where the best chiropractic school was.
I'm going to fast forward you. Okay. But before I do, I'm going to tell you something I learned today, just now. That I'm benefiting from you honing yourself as a masseuse. And there's some dog out there that's just made life better for me because you got to practice or see it being used, right? I want to thank that dog out there. The other thing is, if you ever offer me a ride, I'm getting an Uber. That was the other
They
big
weren't
learning.
all my fault.
No, they never are, right?
It is a scary number, though, isn't it?
But
Yeah.
there's something I want to get to, though, is so you come out, you're a chiropractor, but you're part of a practice. That's how you start, and for how many years?
So immediately when I came out of chiropractic school, my goal was to move back to Virginia Beach with this original mentor. I moved within 7 days after graduation, moved straight up to Virginia Beach. And my goal was to practice with them for a year and learn what I could about running a business and then come back to Georgia. And who knows? I didn't have that plan. I didn't have that vision. I just knew that the short term was that was my goal. And times change. And for the 4 years that I was in chiropractic school, things had just changed. And chiropractic, any kind of graduate school, it can be extremely stressful and depleting. And I was not in the best state of mental health. And so when I started in this practice, it was not a good situation for me and my mental health. And then moving back to that city and state where now I did not have a support system. So I didn't stay in that practice. I was only there for 4 months. And then when I came back, I left everything there. I came back just with my truck and my dogs. And I came back to a loving family where I bounced between my mom and dad and my bonus mom and dad. And that it took me 4 months to decide whether or not I wanted to be a chiropractor again, because my mental health was not in a good place and I had not had a good experience. So I really had to dig deep and find my why and my purpose, and why do I want to do this? And what is my purpose? And what does this look like? So then in the end of December, I found a practice that I applied for and started practice as an independent contractor in Atlanta. And I was with that practice for 8 years.
8 years. And then decided.
And then I decided I need to spread my wings. 8 years is a long time to be an independent contractor. I had learned a lot, and I was starting to learn different techniques and styles of chiropractic and business and where I wanted to take my practice and what that looked like. So I set my timeline, and in 2017, was scheduled to open the doors of my first solo practice. And then 2 weeks or 3 weeks prior to that, I had another major car accident that totaled the vehicle that I was in.
Which, of course, wasn't, fault, but
It was not my fault.
no.
It was not my fault. So I started in solo practice from a place of healing, vulnerability.
So, yeah.
And since chiropractic school, that was the first time that I said, I need to walk the walk. Because if I am expecting my patients to show up for their scheduled appointments and pay for services and be here on a rhythm of visits and the importance of that rhythm of visits and the frequency of visits so that each adjustment is building on the one before. And I said, I need to be a patient. I need to be a true patient. I don't want to be treated like a doctor. I am a patient when I walk in and sit down, receive my adjustment. I go through everything that they would do that I would expect my patients to do. And it has benefited me tremendously.
So you walked in their shoes. You've gotten a benefit from it. Fast forward, it's 2020. 2020. Your brand new business.
So brand new business.
Wait,
27.
wait. I'm not done with you yet. You're literally a hands-on person.
It just makes me nervous.
I think there was this thing going on where there is no
happened.
handsing on.
Something happened.
What?
Yeah.
What are you going through? You mentioned how nervous it makes you even thinking about it. What'd you go through in 2020?
So between 2017 and 2020, it was brand new practice. Not only did I have school loans, but now I had business loans, right? I had a build out that I had to pay for.
You got the stresses we're talking about earlier.
So,
you've got everything going on.
Yeah. And I'm still recovering physically from this car accident, which took years to recover from that. And
also mentally, you're moving along a continuum.
Yeah. And yeah. Yeah. And then in February of 2020, we experienced this thing called COVID. And I think it was between February and April, right? Where we were forced to shut down. Now, I have very firm beliefs in my purpose as a health care provider. And I emphasize health because I don't see chiropractors as sick care providers. We are working with improving the health of those that we take care of. And I really doubled down on the essentialness of what I do as a practitioner. Of course, we had to modify our practices across the board, but I did manage to keep my doors open and practice through all of that. I had just gotten into the black where you say, oh, it might have just been barely, but I had just gotten into the black and thankfully survived. I know a lot of businesses that did not survive that.
Yeah. Over time, even if it didn't wipe them out during 2020,
in the years to come.
Yeah. It
for sure.
Never recovered from it, right?
For sure. And I had a great patient base that took the education that I was teaching them and trusted me to provide the service that I had told them that I would provide and help to keep them healthy, kept myself healthy, because even in the midst of this, I was still making sure that I went and got adjusted. My immune system was stellar throughout that process, and I am blessed and grateful for that and being able to hold the space for the people that I cared for. And then you want the next, and then. So we made it through. We made it through the majority of the stress of COVID, and business was just starting to pick back up. It was not what it was before, but we were just starting to get in a little bit of groove of things. And then I received a certified letter in the mail in 2022. It was in February of 2022 that said the property that the office was on had been sold and that I had 90 days to vacate because they were going to build a high rise of luxury condominiums. So, yeah, talk about having to adapt. So,
and everything's on you.
Oh, yeah. There was not on it. Yeah. I mean, it was all on me. I was a solo practitioner. I had one massage therapist working in the office with me. That was it. Independent contractor. Yeah. I had, again, great patients. These, I like to refer to them as participants now, because if they're not participating in their health,
they're part, yeah.
Right. If a patient is someone that you're doing something to, but if they're a participant, they're really participating in their health. So amazing connections, and they become your family when you've had them in your life that long. And several of them sent me messages and said, hey, there's a little church in the neighborhood that has a beautiful empty room with lots of windows. And I know you've put all of your things in storage, but if you have just even one like portable table, could you practice down here? And so I practiced in the basement fellowship room of this sweet little church in my neighborhood for 4 months before I found my now home on the west side.
Okay.
Lots of
Yeah. All right. Well, I've got one more question on top of that. But before we do that, we got to go on a couple quick trips. It's back to the future style. We're going for 10 years. What are you doing? Just
a healing retreat center. Big. That's the big vision.
okay.
That was not on the radar until just a few years ago. But yeah, a healing retreat center where people can come and disconnect and spend, like, let's say we have a program of 5 to 7 days, maybe even a short one for the weekend, where they come in and they receive daily BGI chiropractic care. They will have access to alternative therapies like acupuncture, exercise and movement, therapeutic massage, myofascial release, just really bringing in like some spiritual practices, meditation, teaching people how to heal their body or to access that force of healing the body from the inside out and detoxing from the stress in the real world and learning how to be more adaptable for a short period of time.
All right. We'll have them back in the car. Obviously, I'm driving. Going back to 30-year-old Aletha. You see her? You see her?
Yeah.
All right. What advice do you have for her?
Even if it's scary, do it scared. Take supplements. Be in nature. Always have a dog. Yeah.
Get back in. Come back to now. So we've heard your story, the highs, the lows, the ups, the downs, the challenges. There's somebody else out there they've got to branch out as well.
Really honor, really yourself. Honor yourself, your body, your mind. Do the work. There's a quote that I heard a year or so ago that said, the magic you're not seeing is in the work you're not doing. I put that in a positive light. And so oftentimes I'll say to myself, do the work, see the magic. Mm-hmm. Because that just feels a little bit better to me. Change is going to happen all around us, and change can be scary, whether it is inside the body or outside the body, or really far outside the body, like in the community and the world around you. It's going to happen. And it can be, and in all likelihood will be, scary.
So the seas are choppy, wind's blowing, it's scary. Where do you anchor?
My purpose and my why, my statement of desire. I always think about my family and the people that love me, supported me through the ups and downs, and they still are. They still are supporting me mentally, physically, emotionally, and have in the past financially. They've supported me through all of this. And I think about them. And my statement of desire, that is my why, that I strive to live every day, is courageous pursuit of vitality to elevate quality of life. So it goes back to the vitality that you mentioned earlier.
Well, I want to thank you for a couple of things. One, thank you for being a part of the show. Thank you for doing what you do. It's helped my family. It's helped me. It's helped a lot of folks. The other one is thank you for reframing my perception of chiropractic care. And thank you for helping the audience with their perception of chiropractic care. There's more to it than we think, even more to it than we spoke about today, but just thanks.
Thank you.
All
This
right.
has been fun.